In this video, we're going to be taking a look at Cad Bane for the Vintage Collection, based upon his appearance from the Book of Boba Fett. So this is an action figure I've been holding off on for a long while now. I have to admit, when I originally saw the live-action look for Cad Bane here at the time of the series, I wasn't totally sold on his appearance. I looked down and was like, he looks a little off for Cad Bane to me. I'll just bring out the Clone Wars one right now to kind of point some of the things out. So this Clone Wars one here, a lot of people will still consider to be the definitive Cad Bane, and even though he's an animated look, some people will suggest that he can fit in with the realistic look. But usually when I think of Cad Bane, I think with his hat, obviously is a very signature item for him, and a very recognizable thing. I'm used to him with the wide brim, and then to see him with this smaller brim here, and a much smaller hat overall, I thought, that doesn't really look right. Of course, Cad Bane's much older at this point, so perhaps the style changes a little bit. And then, as you can see on the card art here, he's much more of a lighter blue compared to what we're used to seeing. It seems like with the action figure here, they kind of corrected that. He's a much more darker blue, I guess. But that's probably, maybe that could have something to do with age, with Duros. Maybe as they get older, they get a lighter skin tone. I don't know. But it just didn't look right to me. And it was clear in the series that, they probably could have done a little bit better with the overall costume for him, I think. Something about it just looked off to me. But over time, I think he's kind of grown on me a little bit. And I saw this action figure on sale on Amazon for about $12 or $13, which is just a couple dollars less than what I think this was still during the time when TVC was retailing for like $13.99 or $14.99, and he's been out for maybe a year and a half now at this point. So I thought, you know what, I'm already getting a couple other TVC figures at this time, so I'll just go ahead and get them as well. In fact, I got them at the same time that I purchased second Count Dooku and the Phase 1 Clone Trooper. So I thought, well, I'll just throw them in with a lot. And after having them in hand, I'm generally happy with him. And I think he looks pretty good for an action figure. In fact, I just realized this after having this figure in hand. I might be able to fit him in the Xanadu Blood, which is his personal fighter. You would have to take his trench coat off here, which is very possible, I think. So I'll save that for another video here at some point. But anyways, let's just go and take a closer look at the card back here. Book of Boba Fett, Cad Bane. Image of him from the show there. Of course, he has that signature snarl. One thing I do like about this outfit, of course, it's shown on his Clone Wars counterpart as well, is he has the ammo wrapped around him. Not just around his belt, but even around his ankles there on the figure. And this is before the updated card back image, so it's VC283. And we have every single one of these figures reviewed on the channel now, except for the Tusken Boba Fett. So check all these videos out if you get a chance. So that's the card back. Let's take a closer look at this guy. So the head sculpt, it's not 100% perfect. I think the photoreal turned out kind of grainy for him. It's not very smooth. But it's not terrible. Of course, he does have that signature snarl, and they did put his teeth in there. It's a nice detail. Does have his signature breathing tubes there, which plug into his back here, and you can remove this, so that way you can take the trench coat off. It doesn't really stay in the place unless you keep his head totally straight forward. If you rotate it to the side, a lot of times it might pop out on you, do something like that. I'll show something else interesting as well. So it turns out, if you're very insistent about Cad Bane having his Clone Wars style hat, it actually does work for this action figure. It's a little loose, but it does fit. So you can have kind of a realistic looking Clone Wars style Cad Bane if you wanted to. Doesn't look too bad. I think it looks better if you have his eyes covered by the brim there, where you can just see the snarl of his mouth. That looks really neat. And this hat kind of works for the Clone Wars figure. You can see how he kind of looks less intimidating with this one. Just something interesting to note. For the rest of his outfit, he does have a lot of gadgets and intricate parts. Of course, he has the ammo attached to his belt there, holsters. He does have the gauntlets here, which are blue, tube. Has some pockets on his trench coat there. They did give a little bit of a wave to his trench coat where you can brandish his left holster there. It's kind of neat. And as you can see at the beginning of the video, I did have him in a crouching position. He has this cut here where the way you can get that is just by wedging his leg in between there. That's about the best way you can do it. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to get his leg totally straight with the ground. And then the ammo wrapped around his ankles there. I would think that would be extremely heavy to haul around, but maybe he only did this because of the duel he was about to have with Cad Bane in the series there. Might not be a standard thing he does. As far as articulation, he is super articulated all around. Trying to see if his head's on a ball joint there. It's really hard to tell. Some of these action figures, it's really hard to tell if the head's on a ball joint or on a barbell. But it kind of acts more like it's on a ballpoint there, because when you look to the side, his head is going to be at that angle, which is typically something that happens with a ballpoint head. He does have a hinge at the shoulders, which are about 90 degrees. Hinged elbows, which don't go quite to 90 degrees, and that's because of the gauntlets there. It's not that big of a deal, but he does have the hinged wrist, joint at the torso, pretty good joint at the torso there, and of course the hinged hips, swivel thigh, hinged knees, and the rocker ankles. I'm not sure if his tooling's all new, or if it's reused, or partial new, partial reuse. I'm kind of led to believe that this might be an all-new action figure. Weapons and accessories, very light. He just has his 2 signature pistols. No rifles or any other grenades or anything like that. Would have been nice to include some of that. It does have or the pistol does fit well in his holster there, as you can see. It stays in place pretty good. Yeah, other than that, I think that's pretty much all I can tell you about Cad Bane here. We'll bring out Total's 360 here. See how they look side by side. Total's head's very top heavy, so he doesn't stand too well. Unless you have him propped up against his leg. But that would have been another nice accessory to include with this figure, even though Total 360 doesn't show up in the Book of Boba Fett. It's just something extra to add. So would I recommend this figure for your collection? I would, if you're a huge fan of Cad Bane. I'm a pretty big fan of him. I would say yes, it's generally a nice action figure to have. Like I said, I wasn't totally sold on the appearance of him in live action at first, but over time it kind of has grown on me a little bit. I still prefer how he looks in the Clone Wars series. I look at that and think, yes, that's Cad Bane, more than this Book of Boba Fett interpretation. But overall, it's pretty good. When you take in all the considerations, like he should be much older at this point, you know, things change, different world, you can kind of buy the appearance. But overall, the action figure is very nice. I do think it's even more accurate to what I think of Cad Bane than what we see in the actual series, mainly because he has the darker blue skin tone here, much more accurate to the Clone Wars. Overall, looks really good. I'm happy to have it. I don't regret having to wait a year and a half before I finally decided to get it, but I'm glad to have him now, and at some point soon I'll be featuring him again with the Xanadu blood, and we'll see how he fits inside of that. He might fit a little bit better even with his hat on because he has that smaller hat, but we'll see. Overall, if you don't have this guy in your collection yet, would recommend it. And I would recommend this Clone Wars one as well. I do have him reviewed on the channel. Also the Black Series one and the original one from the 2009 Clone Wars line. So I think at this point we have pretty much all the main Cad Bane figures reviewed on the channel. Maybe the only one I'm really missing is the Black Series Book of Boba Fett one, which at this time I don't plan to get, and then there's also one that came with a speeder bike during the Clone Wars one, or the Clone Wars line, but I don't think that one's, it's much less detailed and less accurate. But perhaps I'll get that someday. But anyways, that concludes this review. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for plenty more reviews in the future. There'll always be more to come. If you haven't already, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I always appreciate all your support. And check out some links in the description if you haven't done so already. As always, thanks for watching.